Hey, what's up? Welcome to Lifeonaire Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Lifeonaire Show, we help people make more, work less, and live awesome lives. I am joined by my co-host, my buddy, my bro, my homie. What's up, PP, Polish Peter?
I cannot believe you just threw that in there. I think Charlie Engen will be your biggest fan right now that you just threw in that little phrase in
Well,
there.
you called me Jojo before, man, so I'm just getting you back for it.
Okay, it's fair enough.
Dude, I'm psyched for this episode, man. I'm super psyched.
Yeah, me too, because the reason why I'm psyched is what we're going to do is we're going to have a conversation with Mark and Jen Heller. They are one of my students in T7 group, and I'm going to share their story and how they became super successful in spite of the fact that I was their coach, right?
Dude, this is amazing. This is a true miracle.
Yeah, so listen, for those of you listening, they're going to share a little bit of the story of like before Lifeonaire and what happened during it and where they're at right now. But I want you guys to listen from the perspective of how can any of this align with your life? Does any of that resonate with you? They share about health for herself and Mark being dealing with alcoholism. And they talk about the wellness aspect of it and what they had to do to be able to go and create their life that they truly wanted to. So, vision and things like that. So listen for those kind of clues because they drop a lot of those different clues that help them become successful.
Dude, there's so much in this episode that, they talked about Jen being partially paralyzed on one side of her body, Mark having his problems with alcoholism, talked about working way too much, relationship issues. They had financial challenges. Like, dude, they had all of them, right? And
right.
They have an awesome story and they unpack how they overcome this stuff. You're going to want to listen to this episode. Let's jump into it right now. Here's our interview with Mark and Jen Heller. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Lifeonaire Show.
Thanks for having us.
Hi.
Well, and I got to say this, and for those listeners who don't know yet, Peter is your coach. And so don't hold that against them. It's not their fault. And any success they've had, by the way, has been in spite of Peter. So you guys are even more rock stars than I already knew.
That's what I was going to. We do the opposite. Peter guides us, and then we do the opposite.
I love it.
All right. I think the show is done. All right. That was a great show. Thank you. Let's move on to the next.
No, we love you, Peter.
Yeah, I said it. Listen, if my students can become successful in spite of me, man, then anything's possible.
Anybody can
right?
do this.
Anybody can do this, right?
That could be a niche for you.
Yeah, that's right. See, that's a different kind of coaching, right? So listen, one of the things I love about you guys is you are the people who take action, and you guys are actually going and making things happen for yourself, right? And that's why you guys are, one of the success stories that we want to have a conversation here on this particular podcast. But before we go into that, I want to hear a little bit about what was the life like for you guys before Lifeonaire came into your life? So tell us a little bit of background on when you guys were back then.
Yeah, so that was, like I said, we were reflecting on that this morning, and it's interesting how a few years can change. But so it's basically about 5 years ago. We're coming up on 5 years next month. And where we were was, so we've been together for about 10 years, and we had actually taken a break in our relationship, but had found our way back to each other, or at least tried to create a friendship and figure out where we went wrong in the years prior, and had made a commitment and decided we're going to try to make this work. And a friend of ours, actually, I'm from the gym, really. Yeah, came to Mark and invited him to a RIA conversation where Wojo was speaking. And we just thought, we're at ground zero. We have nothing to lose. Let's just go and see what it's all about. And it's funny, we made a commitment in the car on the way there. We're not buying anything. We're not going to get talked into anything that we don't need.
I don't know who this Wojak guy is. Whatever he says, we're not doing it. We're just there to listen.
We're just there to listen and maybe pull a couple of nuggets is what we said. We're just open. We were just open to, because we were desperate, to be quite honest. We just wanted help. We needed help. And so we, to kind of paint the picture, we were not in a good financial place. We were, struggling. I was working crazy hours in my business, which I love my business, but I was working too many hours. Our communication was broken. Again, we knew we loved each other, wanted to be together, but we didn't know how to communicate with each other. And I think a big piece of it as well, Mark can speak to that, is he was really struggling with alcoholism. And we were living a pretty toxic life, actually. You know, when we look back at it, it was pretty toxic on most levels. And we just knew we needed to elevate. We needed to make some changes. So that's probably the premise. Am I missing anything specific?
No, it was basically you worked a lot. You came home super late. I had a W-2 that, you know, I could do in 3 hours out of the 8 hours I was there. So when I got home from work, I had plenty of free time to make bad choices before you got home. And I was sort of going in the wrong direction with all those things with the alcohol, I thought. And I think before Lifeonaire, I had made a decision to stop, but I hadn't finished that process totally. And obviously Peter helped with that. We can talk about it, but yeah, we needed something. So we were just there to learn and see where it went from there.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing was just that we knew we needed help and we were willing to explore ways to find it. We weren't getting it from our friends and our immediate family. And so we were willing to take a chance on some external guidance.
Yeah.
Okay. So I need to know, like, you're at this RIA meeting, you agree ahead of time, we're not doing this. Right. And then then what happened?
No, it was halfway through the meeting.
Yeah.
I turned, while you were still up there talking, I turned to her and I said, hey, you know I agreed with you on the way here that we're not doing this, but I think this is something we should entertain, because it was just to sign up for the initial 3-day.
Right.
And there was a discount, by being there. And I said, I think we should just try this. We have nothing to lose except for this little bit of money, and it could be something awesome. So from there, we signed up and we went to the 3-day, and then going into the 3-day, it was the same thing. It's like, we're not signing up for this program. We're not doing a year thing. We're not, I don't care what they say. And that was obviously before.
Well, I think we're a little bit open to it, but we were just like, we're not going to get talked into something that we don't want. I don't mean to cut you off, but just to coin off what Mark was saying, is I remember sitting in the room. We didn't know what the RIA was going to offer that. Like, we knew you were a speaker, but we didn't know what the actual conversation was totally about. We'd never heard of Lifeonaire. But I remember sitting in the room, and I'm a coach. Like, I've been a coach for years. So I understand coaches need coaches and people need guidance. And I remember sitting straight forward, like intentionally not looking at him, but in my heart, I was like, we need this. This is exactly what we need. This is the exact thing that we need in our life right now. Is we need a vision, we need clarity, and we need good, well-intentioned people to help pull us out of this situation. And I wasn't sure if he was getting it, like, because we weren't really talking. We were just like, we're just going to go listen. But then, like he said, halfway through during a break, we both looked at each other. And as soon as I looked at his face, I was like, he gets it. He's feeling what I'm feeling. We need to pay attention. So, but we signed up and we did go to the 3-day with the same hope, is that we're going to learn something. We're going to be open, but we're not going to be guided into something that we don't need, because we've gone down a lot of paths and they were dead ends. And so I was really particular about, like, we need to make sure we're making smart choices. But I mean, I would say hour 1 in, I'm bawling, he's bawling, like, we're like, so it was divine timing on every level.
Yeah. So what do you think was the difference that had you guys go and say, yeah, let's join?
I don't know.
For me, I mean, touching pain points for sure. Listening to other people's stories in the 3-day, getting, you got Ellen up there swallowing fire in that one. Just a lot of people that were opening up the things that they needed help with, that kind of let my guard down, I think, in my mind, at least with the drinking stuff too. But I mean, we needed help in financial areas, drinking, relationship, our family, like everything.
Boundaries.
So, just the fact that we were surrounded in a room full of people that were all there, vulnerable, safe space, willing to open up, made me feel totally comfortable, way more so than talking to friends or family about anything.
I think for me too, it was the pain points. What I didn't mention is, a few years prior, what I now know is I had a stroke. I had a mild stroke. I didn't realize at the time. It took a bit of some medical help and professional guidance to figure out, like, what actually happened. But sitting in that room, I was partially, like, impaired. Like, my hand was in a fist. I woke up one day and was basically paralyzed on the left side. My body bounced out of it kind of quickly to where I could get up and move, but I was like drop foot on the left side, and my foot and my left hand were completely non-functional. So I was in a state of anxiety and stress. I hadn't told that to Mark knew, because he lives with me, but I hid it from my family. I hid it from everybody close to me. So I was also sitting in that room praying I need help on how to heal my body and how to fix this because something went wrong. And I also work in the health and wellness industry. So how embarrassing, right? So like the irony of that. And so when you guys started guiding the room through clarity and vision and like getting you back on the rails of a harmonious life and getting connected to God and source and like who we are and why we're here. Like we didn't come here for a pile of things. We came here for love and experiences and meaningful relationships. And it was like, check, 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 like all these things we weren't present in. And so, like I said, day one for me, it got me to my core. Like, this is where we went wrong. And these are the people that are going to help guide us to the light, so to speak, to the right direction.
Gotcha. Yeah. So did you have something?
I just want to say, like, that's amazing. And also for the listeners who aren't familiar with what the 3-day is, you're referring to the Get-A-Life Getaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Where you basically sit down and look at your life and your schedules and where you're spending your time and your values and what you were valuing. And I think for us in our relationship, like we left day one realizing we don't communicate well. We don't even know what the other one wants. Like we have these visions of what our life looks like, but we had never sat down together and really put pen to paper and time into like, what does this life look like together? How are we going to create this? We'd never done that before.
Yeah. And for me, I was raised Irish Catholic. So it was, you don't talk about your feelings most of the time. You kind of kick things under a rug and, carry on. So being in a room full of other people that are all willing to, let their feelings out and talk about things that they're struggling with, for me, just made me feel super comfortable. Like I could be doing the same thing also. So that was that combined with when we did the interview process at the end. And so I think Wojo, you were there and I'm sitting there bawling and talking about all the help I need. I'm thinking like, this is probably where I need to be if this guy's who I just met right now is getting to cry in front of him.
Right. Pull this out. Yeah. In all seriousness, he hadn't shown that kind of emotion. It was like basically Stonewall. And, those that know me know that I can also, I can like mow right past emotions to get to an outcome, but we hadn't sat down with the emotional being of the situation. And like, I like to use the term spiritually connect to it, but like connect to like what's really going on. You guys pulled something out of us in that experience immediately, which was the, I don't say the icing, but it was the validation that I needed, excuse me, to know we were in the right place.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because I think will help a lot of people see like a little bit because it's hard to tell somebody what 3 days is like. But as you guys are sharing this stuff about what it was experience like for you guys, I think it helps somebody else. So now you decided to join the program. You got in the coaching. You became a student of the one and only here.
Yes.
And then literally on day one, everything changed. Everything was good, right?
Yeah. I mean, we were like, Wojo, assign us to the most impressive coach you have.
And you went down the list and nobody,
I'm like, no, full.
I think it was, I want to go with Wojo. Oh, no, he's not taking you people right now. But we've got this guy, Peter, that, I was like, the guy in the other room that I can't understand. That's not going to be helpful.
We're like, he has a couple openings. Wojo's booked, but we'll go with this guy. No, just kidding.
But I wanted to point out too for the listeners that aren't in Lifeonaire yet. Like when we joined, we put the initial payment on a credit card. We didn't even have money to pay for it.
Yeah, so we had nothing.
The point is, if somebody comes to that room and they're thinking to themselves, I can't afford this, I can't do this, we can't put it on a credit card. I would dig deep and think about if it's something you want to try or not, because if we hadn't put it on the credit card and hadn't started this process, we would be, we're going to talk about that, but I don't even know how much lower and less well off than we are right now.
It's hard to even quantify that, but yeah, we had no money, but I remember we talked about it. I'm like, we can't afford to do this, but we can't afford not to do this. Like we need to bet on ourselves, but that also motivated us. Like, okay, if we're doing this, we're going all in. Like there's no halfway. You need to put the work and the energy in to make this work because we can't afford this can't fail. Like we can't afford for this to fail because we didn't know how we were going to pay for it otherwise.
Yeah.
So
I gotcha. All right. So let me ask you this. So you guys are going to coaching now. Obviously, before the call, you kind of mentioned like there were some benchmarks that you guys hit. Like what are the things that you guys did during the coaching that made the difference for you guys?
Well, I think early on, the interesting dynamic is we both had things going on that we needed to work on separately. But we also had some relationship things that we needed to work on. And the things for me, he can speak for himself, but for me, it was, I mean, I love what I do. I still do. And I did then. I was just exhausted and I needed a mindset shift on how I could work smarter and also not let my work control my life, which is why I think I ended up in the health situation I did, is I was giving too much of myself and not balancing and harmonizing my own energy. So talking with you on coaching calls, I mean, I think we missed 2 retreats. Maybe I think we're trying to figure out, like, I think overarching is we never missed retreats. We showed up for the calls.
We booked calls with Peter.
We booked calls with Peter consistently. We put it on our calendar, and I made it a point to say, like, I'm going to tell him things that I've never told anybody before. I need to be 100% open and share stuff. And so for me, it was just really working on my health and figuring out the balance, and then just being really consistent on making time for myself. And the other thing too, I wrote down this morning is reflecting back, I had a lot of anger and resentment. I was really upset with Mark. I was angry at our relationship and where we were at, because in my mind, I could visualize where I wanted to be. And I was angry that we weren't there. And so talking with you on a continuous basis about coming at things with love and grace and kindness versus anger, frustration, and resentment. Like, that was the consistent thread for me, was to literally just open up my heart and be more kind and understand when I'm communicating with him that it comes from a place of like love and compassion, and help him versus be angry at him. So that's huge for me from like a ground zero standpoint, is just changing my mindset and going at conversations and communications differently.
Yeah, but how do you actually do that? I don't want to go too much into it, but how you actually go, you're angry, right? And all that kind of stuff. And now, you go into be more loving and accepting and things like that.
Yeah, I think what helped immediately is, like we said, I was trying to quit drinking basically right when we started doing this process, and I had made the decision to do so, but I wasn't there totally yet. Mm-hmm. So working with you, Peter, for the first, 6 months or so when we joined Lifeonaire, I explained to you, I was trying to get off drinking. I was, trying to whittle it down. I was trying to do a couple here, there, blah, blah, blah. So, for the first 6 months we were in Lifeonaire, that was what I was trying to do. And then, we just realized that wasn't going to be the option and that wasn't going to work. And you helped me a few times on phone calls doing visualization stuff, things like that, which was also super helpful for me. But then, finally I was just like, okay, I've got this. We're going to do it. So actually yesterday was 4.5 years of being sober.
Yeah.
Man, congrats.
Yeah.
Dude, that was awesome.
So,
but what I was saying is, I'll try not to cry, but what I was saying is, I think that's why also she was able to change from angry and frustrated to happy and seeing where we could go, because I had made the change that I think was a gigantic part of holding us back.
He was finally doing the work. And what I loved about it is that he no longer had to lean on me for help all the time. Right. He had Peter. And so he had an outlet. He had a person that wasn't judgmental. He could be vulnerable with, he could share all the things. Like, I have no idea what were on those conversations. So I think what was important, I guess, going back to my point, was like, we had calls with Peter and then we had calls together. So we were working on our personal challenges and struggles separately and consistently, but we are also finding time to also book together calls on how we can continue to work together. Another thing that it's just coming to me is the money piece of it is like, I was very protective of our money and was not willing to bring that together in a cohesive way, because I looked at it as he was wasting our money. He was out drinking and doing all these things.
Yeah, it turns out drinking is very expensive.
Yeah. And so actually we wrote that down this morning. It's like, wow, we actually saved a lot of money and we're able to move our lives forward even further because we removed toxic things that we were spending our time and energy and money on. And so when I started seeing him making the actual moves to move our life forward, then I was more open to being like, okay, let's get a joint checking account. Let's do some things that we talked about that I wasn't willing to trust and have faith in. But because I knew he had Peter and I knew Peter was going to keep him on the rails as long as he stayed consistent with it, I trusted the process. And then it just kind of gravitated. So I think, the benchmark things over the years are, obviously Mark quitting drinking, which then rolled into just got the wheel going in, like how do we create a healthier lifestyle? How do we remove the other toxicity? We let go of some friendships, unfortunately, that were no longer serving us. Mark decided to not spend time with a couple of guys that he has, was friends with since college, because there just wasn't a common ground. And they weren't really super supportive of our decision to be sober. I also quit drinking and just decided I didn't have to, but I decided in order for us to live this life, it's going to make more sense for me to just let that go. I didn't need it. Isn't going to serve us well. So I quit drinking as well. And so that was a huge benchmark. Then for us, it was looking at our financials. Where can we clean things up? What can we do? What can we let go? And how can we invite more value? And I mean, I say this often now, but like, it's hard to quantify. I know you guys get this too, but like once you start letting go of the toxic and the negative things, it opens up the doors for receiving more abundance and more gratitude, and more things come your way. And so this wheel just started going in the right direction. And so things started to ease up a bit on our finances. And, I started making more money in the business, and we started doing other things that were creating more abundance in our life. And it just motivated us to continue to make change.
Hey, we'll get right back to our episode. Well, I want to tell you about something really quickly here in a moment, and that is our Get-A-Life Getaway event. This is an event we've been doing going on 15 years now. We've had almost 10,000 people go through it, and it's an incredible event. If you want to transform your life, if you don't have the life you dream about, the one that you know you deserve and the one you worked hard for, and you are sick of kind of being sick and tired and not having all the things and experiences in your life that are waiting for you, then you need to get to this event. I'll just tell you right now, this event will transform absolutely everything in your life. We will take you hand in hand and walk you through step by step the process to create your ideal life in every single area, because they all fit together. This is a proven formula. We've been doing this so long now. We've tweaked it, we've refined it, we've perfected it, and we would love for you to be there. Peter and I teach these personally. We do not delegate these to anybody else. This is part of our vision. We love pouring into people, and we'd love to see you at an event. Now, to make it even more enticing for you, that even in of itself, it's awesome, is we're going to give you, because you're a loyal podcast listener, 50% off ticket price. So when you go to lifeonaire.com, that's lifeonaire.com, you'll go to the events page, you'll see the Get-A-Life Getaway. When you check out, after you choose the specific event you want to do, and by the way, we do about a half dozen of these events per year, 3 of the Get-A-Life Getaway and 3 of the Business Builder Workshop. You simply go to that checkout page, and when you're ready to check out, there's a promo code you will enter. It's called podcast. Use the promo code podcast for 50% off the Get-A-Life Getaway, and we will see you there. I'm hearing you, and I'm hearing, okay, we had financial challenges. I'm working a ton. I got health issues. There's alcohol involved. There's the relationship as a whole. It can feel like a lot. You're like, whoa, like in every, you look at each different component of your life, and they're all kind of either not what you want, or by a little bit or by a lot. And,
right.
and so when you guys chose to address these things, I'm curious, did you choose one thing to prioritize over others first? Was there an order, or did you kind of just like, hey, we're just going to kind of multitask here, and we see some relationships that if we fix this, these other things will kind of come into play as well? I'm curious about the strategy, if there was one, as to how you chose to address these things.
I think it was the vision. You build your vision at the 3-day of what you want your life to look like. Mm-hmm. You also get to plan out your calendar for what your week is going to look like, in the perfect scenario where you don't care about work or how you're making money, just what you want to do. And that exercise for me, I never thought about anything besides being a W-2 employee. I never thought about, working for myself. I just figured I'd work for somebody 8 hours a day for the rest of my life, because when I was drinking, that was about all my mental capacity could handle, probably. You just show up, do what you need to do, and then you leave. But we cleared that up, and then you got a vision that's, you write down all the things that could happen now, and you can see it happening possibly. And our visions, you could put them next to each other, and a lot of it was exactly the same. We both wanted the same things, so then we just had to tackle them.
Yeah, I think for me, definitely, like we said, the alcohol was number one. Like that was the big elephant in the room that needed to gateway everything else. So I do think we kind of went at it with like priorities, like what's the most important. And the most important was we needed to get healthy. We needed to create a healthy life. And so we made some pretty fast moves. Like I said, he quit drinking, and then immediately it was like, okay, some of these friendships are not serving us. We're just going to let them go. It wasn't like this big catastrophic, it was just walk away quietly, love them from afar type thing. And then we started working on some boundaries with his family, some specific family members, and some things that we realized weren't serving us well or supporting us. So we just talked to Peter, set some clear boundaries on what is going to help us stay on the rail, so to speak. So to Mark's point, the vision is always foundation. It still is. It's literally, it goes everywhere I go, where I go. Like if it doesn't fit the vision, it doesn't happen in my world. So reading it every day, sometimes multiple times a day, changing it, fine tuning it as we go. Like that's always been the foundation. But I think we just looked at the things that were the heaviest and weighted on us the most. And once we lifted a couple of those big barriers, then things started rolling. For me, it was also like the business and how much I was working, and I needed to really pull back and start taking care of myself. So that for me was priority, but I felt a breath of fresh air and some room to do that as soon as he let go of the alcoholism. And I felt comfortable knowing like I didn't need to babysit the situation anymore. I could now look inward and spend a little time on myself. And then again, the retreats, we love the retreats because every 3 to 4 months, we're getting together, we spend time with each other and with some other people, and we sit down with our goals and our visions and we fine tune. So it's every few months, it's creating some waypoints for us to like look at what the priorities are and not put too much on a plate, but we usually 2 or 3 things. We're like, we're gonna work on these things for the next 3 to 4 months. This is going to be the priority. So yeah, I mean, I think as a whole, we knew the entire wheel needed to be managed and fixed, but we kind of went at it systematically, obviously with Peter's help as well. Like, what are the priorities here and how do we lay the foundation to be able to even build upon?
Love it. Yeah, and the other thing I'm hearing too is think about it this way. Before, like you guys talking about Lifeonaire, like you were angry, he's drinking with us, so you guys are like opposite to each other, right? And as you guys started working, you started seeing how the vision is, we're pretty much have a similar vision. And you guys started working more with each other together to make this life. It wasn't like this kind of like,
right,
butting heads. And I think that helped you guys tremendously to be able to go and put your strengths together and start working towards that vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I also think that, excuse me, I also think that my personality isn't one to ask for help or let people in or show vulnerability. And so Mark is laughing.
I'm laughing because Peter said, really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in fairness, like it is my personality to be a leader and like do the things. And I've always been the person in the family and in the friend circle. Like people always look to me for guidance and answers. So when you don't have that or when you need help, it's a scary place to be like, I need help. Like it's hard to say that. And so I think, I can remember pretty vividly the first 2 retreats. Like I was a mess. I was an absolute mess emotionally because I finally felt safe in a room with people that didn't know me. They didn't judge me. They had no idea, that I could finally let my guard down and actually share what's really going on, like what's really going on under the layers of this facade, so to speak. And then also for Mark to be there to finally say, like, I want to help you. I want to be there for you. Like, let's go together. I've been working since I was 14 and like taking care of myself. So I don't, the together thing sounds good. But I struggled with that. So it took me a little while. But I think that's probably one of my biggest gratitude. Like one of the things I'm most grateful for from Lifeonaire is not only it built the relationship we have, but the community of the people and the non-judgment and the safe space and the love. Like you can walk into that room and feel the love. Peter, you and I've talked about this, like people walk into a room and you don't even have to say anything. You can feel the love and the care and the kindness and the openness that's there. And it just cracks you open. So that was huge for me over the years. And it still continues to be. Like, we're, coming up in a few weeks on a retreat, looking forward to it. It always just moves us forward.
Yeah. So listen, one of the things that I want to touch on too, because I think, someone might be wondering about this on the call here, is you mentioned at the beginning that one day you woke up, your kind of the left side was paralyzed. He took care of the drinking and all that kind of stuff. So what happened with your paralyzed? Like, did that fixed? What happened there?
Yeah. So once I felt like I could take a breath and actually focus in on my health and well-being, I started just spending a ton of time dialing into why did this happen? I've got those answers, obviously, and just how can I repair? And the overarching common denominators is just I needed to bring harmonious, like, peace into my life. Like, we weren't living a peaceful life. That's why the check engine light came on, basically. I'm a firm believer that whether it's a backache or a headache or a cold sore or a stroke, whatever it is going on in our body, we're energetic beings. The check engine light comes on, you better be paying attention. If it comes on in our car, we obviously see it. So once I started paying attention to it and understanding, it was how can I heal my body? And it was get right in our relationship, create a schedule where I could do my yoga, I could do my meditations and my mindfulness, like use my mind to heal my body. Working with some practitioners and some holistic healers that have really helped me dial in on some, I don't want to say supplementation, but just some things that my body was lacking, some nourishment and some nutrients that I needed, but just overall love and take care of and nourish my body. And honestly, like, to date, I don't have 100% function of my left fingers. I'm still working on some motor function, but I can, open doors. I mean, I walk normally. Most people don't even know it's happened. I would say I'm about 96, 97% healed. And I'm going to continue to move forward and hopefully regain full function of the fingers. But I remember when my hand actually opened back up. So my hand was in a fist for years. And then I remember just the tingling and the feeling of, like, it actually releasing and opening and the blood flow and the circulation. And it was just blood flow and circulation. It was just my body coming back alive. And it was me just focusing and paying attention on it. Plus, Mark has played a huge role in being a partner and a loving partner. And, we decided to elope. We got married. We didn't tell anybody. We just went on vacation and got married. It was just the two of us. It was just for us. And that felt so good. It was the happiest day of my life because I remember us doing what was best for us. And we've continued to choose us every time. And that's what's helped heal my body, honestly. It's just, every day we choose us and create a life that is peaceful.
I love it. Amazing. Yeah. So listen, I want to touch on that. Like, what's the life look like right now, your life?
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's pretty exciting. I mean, we laugh now because, I would say, so when we look back on 5 years, I would say the majority of the real hard work for us took place in the first 2 years. Once we started getting the wheel and the path going, the last few years have just been fine tuning. During COVID, I had to let my brick and mortar wellness center business go. That was challenging. Peter, I've told you this a million times, but I'll say it on air just so Wojo can hear it as well. I don't know what I would have done during that time without you and the group and the community of the Lifeonaire family, because that was a really difficult time for me. That was devastating to let my business go. Probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through. But knowing I had support and a system around me to help me make decisions, I felt like I was driving a bus at 100 miles an hour with a blindfold on and my hands weren't on the wheel. Like, that's how I felt. And so that was a pivotal point for us as well to, like, okay, where can we assess? Where do we go from here? So we let the business go. I sold everything I could. We sold our houses and we moved to the country and bought our dream house. And now we live in the country and we've kind of created what I call Home That Heals. I have a podcast actually that's going to be launching next month that's called Homes That Heal, because I want to help people create wellness in their homes. But we've just really created a life in a home that feels peaceful. It's like a life you don't need a vacation from. You're just like living it every day. It's eating quality food, it's exercising, it's mindfulness, it's us sipping coffee together in the morning, talking about our visions. We sit oftentimes on Sunday mornings and like read our visions and like, where can we fine tune? Where do we go from here? The business, where I'm at now, I still am in the sauna and the wellness space. I wrote down this morning when I look back, I work less, I work from home, and I make literally more than 10 times what I did then. So financially, we're more than in an abundance. Like, we're very grateful for that. Mark can speak for himself, but he walked away from his W-2 job this year to pursue a passion that he's really excited about. So life is pretty good.
We've just created freedom and harmony and peace in our lives. Like I said, I thought I'd be a W-2 forever, and it took me, I guess, almost 4 years to pull the trigger on getting out of my W-2, but I think I never would have done it without Peter or Lifeonaire, probably. Like Jen was saying, you get in a room full of people that are unbiased and just have opinions, and they're not your wife, and they're just so much easier to hear and listen to sometimes, or your husband, she'd probably still own her brick and mortar business if we didn't have Lifeonaire, because she wasn't 100%. Listening to me, and I was saying the same thing. So, but yeah, we talked about it and finally got out of my W-2. 2 years ago, we came across this thing called the infinite banking concept, which some people know about, some people don't know about. I guess at the end of this, if somebody wants to find me, I'll explain it. But
I learned about it through Lifeonaire.
Yeah, there was a guy in Lifeonaire that gave a speech about it for 45 minutes, and we watched it, and super interested. And I've been passionate about it, I guess, since then. And finally, Jen said about a year ago, I was just barfing information about it to everybody I could see, just because I was so passionate about it. And I was talking to my friend about it in the car for an hour or two on the way to the Chicago airport. And when we dropped him off, she said, "You should think about doing that for a living." And I said, "Doing what?" Talking to my friend. And she said, "No, teaching people about the infinite banking concept." And I said, "I don't even know what that looks like or how you would do that or whatever." So,
well, yeah. And why I said that was because I was sitting in the back seat and I was watching the two of them. Now, his friend is one of our best friends, and he and his wife just getting out of the military, both retired, been in it for over 20 years and going into the next phase and chapter of their life. They've got kids, and they were just candidly talking like, where do we go from here? And Mark was lit up. Like, I'd never seen such passion in him. He was excited. He was genuinely helping our friend make some serious financial decisions to help improve their life and create long-term stability and freedom for their family. And I just had never seen him. I mean, he was in property management. I'd never seen him talk about property management and apartment homes in that way before. And it just struck me as like, this is what it's all about. Like, this is what living your vision and living this life and these experiences looks like. I'm watching it in real time. He's lit up. And I can't really even put into words what it is, but I said that because I thought, this is something that elevates and moves you. And Peter, you always say, like, does this move you? How do you feel about this? This moved Mark. Like, he was literally like elevating off of the car chair, or the car seat, excited to help our friend in this way. And I just was so excited for him because I thought we had found something he was really passionate about. But just big picture, it was like, this is what we talk about. This is how you create a life of happiness and freedom and wealth and all the things, is by doing the things you love and you're passionate about. So
yeah, I love it. I love it. Got two more questions for you. Sure. I don't know, Vojo, you want to chime in, but if somebody's listening on this podcast, and whether or not they come into Lifeonaire event, I mean, just set that aside. But what's one piece of advice would you have for them if they're struggling in life, because you guys were there, and all that kind of stuff that was happening for them, and they might be saying, well, it works for them because A, B, C. I mean, Mark is a good-looking guy, so that's why it's working for him, right? And Jen is just coming alongside the ride, so that's why she's working for her. Yeah, look at her, right? But what's the one piece of advice that you can give someone who's listening to it?
I would say be vulnerable and don't be afraid. I mean, we're no different than anybody else. So if you put, if you go in at 100%, it can work for anybody. People couldn't be in a much worse situation, I think, financially and relationship and everything else than we were when we started. And we just bought all into the whole program, whole idea, did everything you guys said. And I think it's worked out great for us.
Yeah, the piece of advice that I would give is that if any of this conversation is, like I said, hitting you in your heart or anything is resonating, I always say you have to go with your gut. Like no matter what the decision is, our gut instinct is, I think, one of our biggest drivers, and we should listen to it. And so anybody who's listening to this or feels like, they need to make a change and they need to pivot, they're nodding their head yes, saying, my life, this feels harmonious, my life is good, and all the things. It doesn't mean that you don't need Lifeonaire. You can elevate it. But if the pain points or the things that we're talking about are resonating with anyone, take a chance on yourself and try something new. Like I said, we went to the RIA, I had no idea. I thought we were going to learn about real estate investment, to be quite honest. I had no idea what he was talking about. But just be open to trying something new. And I think one of the biggest reasons we were successful or have been successful in this is because we agreed and were open to working with people who didn't know us. And that's what felt so safe, was that we weren't going to our friends or our family or our inner circle. We were going outside of our comfort zone to try something and let other people's love and kindness and grace guide us. So I think you have nothing to lose. I mean, you really don't. You have everything to gain. So I guess my piece of advice is just be open to trying something new.
Awesome. I love it. If somebody resonated with you guys, if they want to reach out to you, how would they go about doing that?
So I launched a website just recently, actually, Jen Heller Lifestyle. And really, this is a passion project. It's my name, of course, but really Mark is on there too, the About Jen page, the About Jen Mark. Like, my whole premise is to help people create a lifestyle they love. And that's what we're planning to do. And Mark runs the wealth piece of it with the infinite banking and helping people create security and long-term wealth. I run the health piece of it with, bringing health modalities in your home. But really, that's the best place to probably find us in our story. A lot of great information, blogs, articles, email addresses there. But yeah, anybody who's interested in wanting to learn more about Lifeonaire, our experiences, or how we can help. Again, that was one of our intentions with this, is to give you guys tons of gratitude back. We wouldn't be, it's unimaginable to think of where we would be, because I don't know, we don't have a crystal ball, but we know for sure we would not be living this life if it wasn't for you guys, the Lifeonaire community, our family, but also the work and the intention that we've put into this over the last several years. So it's a combination of a lot of things, but we really just felt compelled to share our journey with others so that it inspires people. And we're open to any conversations that people want to have.
Yeah, I would say, just to add to that I think through Lifeonaire, we found the book, The Go-Giver, which is our favorite book, or at least my favorite book, and it's one of hers. But we just, we really resonated with a connector in that book. So we're just trying to help people find something that can help them, whether it's business, relationships, whatever. So when we say reach out to us if you want to, like, what we really mean is we're happy to help if somebody has questions and they think they're going to get a straighter answer from someone in it versus a coach or whatever. Please find us and reach out to us. We're happy to answer questions, tell them about our experiences, because we just want to give back, because you guys have done so much for us over the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are absolutely awesome. And I don't know if you know this, but Peter has updated me on your successes throughout the years. And it's been so rewarding and enjoyable to see the progress you guys have made, and also like just the growth and it's just awesome. It's so cool. I mean, you're going to start to experience this for yourselves as you guys help more and more people. And if you haven't already, and it's just it's the coolest thing to see people succeed. And I just love it. So I want to just thank you for being part of Lifeonaire and for being on the Lifeonaire show, guys. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dude, they accomplished all that and still had you as a coach.
Hey.
Like, they're rock stars, bro.
Listen, when you talk German, and people can't understand you, they literally just, that's my go-to, man. Like, they can't understand what I'm saying. They go and take action. You know what I mean?
Dude, it's so impressive. Like, as they were unpacking all the challenges they had, I was like, wow. Where like even one of these for someone could be debilitating and overwhelming. And here they are with a half dozen legitimate challenges, yet they still found their way out of the weeds and like out of the forest. And like, it's so cool.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love about those two is, they take action. And, when you think about, for those of you listening, you might have some challenges in your life, right? Whether it's health, whether it's money, whether it's, whatever it is for you. And they literally had pretty much all of them, like you said. And when you start looking from that perspective, action, having the vision, notice like before they were like fighting against each other, then they start looking to work with each other, creating that vision. And, Mark said at one point, he goes, when we finally sat down and wrote our visions, we discovered that for the first time, we weren't that far away from each other, meaning like their visions were pretty similar, but we never knew that before, right? So sitting down and having that kind of conversation with your significant other, right? Looking at that vision and then just start taking action towards what you want to do. And, she talked about forgiveness. I will tell you this, from her own emotional, we didn't get into this conversation, but a lot of that stuff that she had with her being paralyzed, a lot of that was emotional. There was the things that, we experience in life, the stress and stuff like that, that literally holds you and your body in this particular tension for her, and it's such an amazing story to hear that I just love that they were able to share it.
But just let me speak on that for a second, man. If you would have asked you about something like that, like a few years ago, I would have been like, that's a bunch of like phony baloney. But I've heard multiple people now have these things. And so it's really opened my eyes to like the body being a lot more complex than we think. I'll tell you, one of my biggest takeaways for them is like, I love, and this is a question I asked, is like prioritizing one thing or a couple things, and then starting to see the downstream effects of making those changes. And so like, for instance, using the illustration with Mark and the alcohol, like him giving that up had multiple effects with his health, with the way she felt, with the way he thought. And he opened up some possibilities for himself to start this new business. And so like finding those things and realizing like, you don't have to try to fix all of them at once. Pick the one that's going to make the biggest difference maybe, and then look at the downstream effects that are a consequence of improving that one area. And that way you can kind of like, you knock that first domino down and the rest of them go. So that was super cool, dude. Love Mark and Jen. They're awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah. And one of the things, if you really listen down underneath this episode, like what they're talking about, this is my point of view. This is my belief, is that when they were starting to, like, for instance, her work class, right? Because she was working so much, him giving up alcohol, the stressing, being more of a wellness, they started getting back to their true self because the alcohol, the stress and all the time, think about it. That's not something that people really enjoy and start going and doing this just because that's who they are. Life starts to go and hit you across the face kind of a thing. And then you end up doing those kinds of things. So the more and more they were starting to get back to their true self, the more they were getting back to working together, working on their life and shifting a lot of the things in their life that really makes them, powerful people. And look what they're at right now. And I love where they're at and how they're actually now helping other people to live the new life for themselves.
Yeah, dude, they're awesome. So listen, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, leave us a rating. And I also want to say this, their journey started by seeing me speak in a room and having their interest and curiosity piqued in a way that they saw something special, something powerful that was waiting for them on the other side of that fear, of the other side of those challenges. And so I'd like to invite you to also come to an event with us. And whether you're not ready for the event in itself yet, and that's fine. This year we're introducing virtual events as well as in-person events. And if that's too big of a step for you, because these are 3 days long each, even though I'd encourage you, this is the best time you'll ever spend in your life on improving it. You can start off with a smaller dose, with something just to get the ball rolling. If you go to lifeonaire.com, you can see some free training that we have that you'll find value from, and just start where you are. One of the lessons I got from Jen and Mark is they're not staying put. They're taking the next step. They're moving forward. They're moving in the direction of their vision. So start where you are right now. Go to lifeonaire.com. Grab whatever value you can and start that ball rolling towards the life and the business you love. All right, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week, everyone. Take care.